Given the problems in 2000, 2002, and 2004, voters approached the midterm elections of 2006 with increased caution.
And of course, Wolf, we've talked a lot about the more than 850 monitors and observers who were on hand today in 22 states sent by the Department of Justice, and they're there to deal with issues as they arise.
Voting glitches have been popping up at some polling stations across the country this election day.
It's the same problem. It's that they try to start the machines up in the morning and something goes wrong.
The biggest question tonight is whether or not your vote will actually count. Election officials all across the country have been reporting problems with e-voting machines.
Data analysts have noted the correlation between the rise of electronic voting devices and elections in which exit polls don't match final tallies. In 2006, there were, once again, a range of computer malfunctions and discrepancies between votes cast and official totals. At first, exit polls showed Democratic House candidates winning by 11.5%. After the exit poll was adjusted by Edison Mitofsky to match the vote totals, the final results showed Democrats winning by only 7.6%. This discrepancy reflects at least 3 million fewer votes for Democratic candidates than exit polls predicted. Until 2002, the national exit poll margin of error had always been plus or minus 1.3%. With mounting discrepancies between exit polls and the official vote count after the 2006 election, pollsters chose to increase the official margin of error from 1.3 to 3%.
Either exit polls are becoming harder and harder to do, or voting manipulation is becoming easier and easier to do.
There have been a wide range of election irregularities in the years since 1996. Have any laws actually been broken?
My guest tonight, former Republican operative who served time in federal prison for his role in the 2002 New Hampshire phone jamming operation. He writes about the experience in his book, How to Rig an Election, Confessions of a Republican Operative. Please welcome to the show, Alan Raymond. Sir. What is the phone jamming scandal of 2002?
Well, that was when I got hired by the Republican National Committee to jam phone lines. It's exactly what it sounds like. We called in, it was like a prank. Democrats in Manchester, New Hampshire.
A prank on democracy.
What we did is we called into where the Democrats were doing GOTV, and we tied up the phone lines. So nothing could go in or could go out on Election Day, and anything you do on Election Day is to get out the vote.
How do you convince yourself that this isn't voter suppression?
Well, you talk to an attorney, which is exactly what I did. And so in politics, there's right and wrong, and then there's what happens in a campaign.
Allegations of wrongdoing in the 2004 presidential election were widespread, especially in Ohio. Has anyone been held accountable? Franklin County Board of Election Deputy Director, Democrat Michael Hackett, was convicted on charges of profiting from a voting machine contract. Hackett's punishment was a year of probation, $3,250 in fines, and 45 hours of community service. His superior, Matt Damschroeder, was also convicted of illegal actions. His penalty? He was censured and suspended from work for a month. In Cuyahoga County, Ohio, 2 election workers were convicted for pre-selecting ballots to avoid discrepancies when the votes were retallied. Before the end of the year in 2007, 56 of Ohio's 88 counties reported that they had destroyed most of their ballots and other records from the 2004 presidential election. This action was taken despite Ohio election law and in violation of a federal court order to retain them. Without those ballot records, the accuracy of the Ohio vote reported on election night 2004 will never be known. Even though various investigations have been carried out, there have been few convictions.
If you look at the behavioral pattern of embezzlers, when they have a successful scam or a successful hack, they don't go whole hog at first. They tend to be very, very careful to make sure they're not caught. And the longer that they go without being detected, the more that they try and the more that they get away with.
People can't conceive of a party or a sitting government stealing an election. You know, this is not something their government would do. And, you know, some corrupt local government might steal a local election, but nationally, to see a government organized to steal an election is beyond comprehension. But you see, it is not beyond the comprehension for an ideologically motivated government. And if you're an ideological government, the only thing important is your ends. Your ends justify any means. Indeed, your ends require you to steal the election if you need to steal the election to stay in power to achieve your ends.
There are people from every background, every socioeconomic group, every race, everything in this country that knows something very bad happened and knows it impacts themselves and their family, and they want their country back.